Imagine being alone in a stranger's house taking care of their beloved pets, only to discover you're not truly alone. The creaks of the floorboards, the shadows in the corner, and the eerie feeling that someone or something is watching you. Tonight we bring you 3 terrifying tales of pet sitting gone horribly wrong. Hi guys, welcome back to Dreadful Nights. In today's video, we are diving into 3 spine-tingling, pet-sitting horror stories that will make you think twice before accepting that next gig. So grab your blanket, turn off the lights, and let's dive in. Story 1, The Silent Companion by Meredith Harper. My name is Meredith Harper, and the weekend I spent in a farmhouse watching over a cat named Whiskers is one I'll never forget. The job seems simple enough. Stay at the charming rural property while the elderly owners, Mr. and Mrs. Grantham, took a short trip. They loved their sleek black cat, Whiskers, and wanted someone reliable to keep him company. When I first arrived, the Granthams gave me a warm welcome. The farmhouse was a sight to behold. Rustic, cozy, and surrounded by sprawling fields that stretched to a distant line of woods. Inside, the house was filled with antique furniture, faded rugs, and the faint scent of lavender. However, there was something else, a peculiar heaviness in the air, like the house was steeped in secrets. Whiskers greeted me as soon as I stepped inside, his emerald green eyes watching me closely. I laughed nervously, feeling oddly self-conscious under his gaze. "Well, aren't you the little watchdog?" I joked, scratching behind his ears. But the unease lingered. The first day passed quietly. Whiskers followed me everywhere, his soft paws making no sound as he shadowed my every move. I explored the farmhouse, admiring its old-world charm. Upstairs, the bedrooms were quaint, filled with family photographs and furniture that seemed frozen in time. One room caught my attention, the guest bedroom. A rocking chair sat near the window, angled as if someone had just been sitting there to enjoy the view. The sight made me pause. The chair seemed out of place, almost deliberate in its positioning. Still, I brushed it off and continued exploring. That evening, I settled on the couch with a book. The charm of the farmhouse began to shift as darkness fell. The creaks of the old wood grew louder, and the stillness became almost oppressive. Whiskers sat on the armrest, his gaze fixed on the staircase. Around midnight, a loud thud shattered the silence. My heart skipped a beat as I froze. A second thud followed, then the unmistakable creak of footsteps coming from upstairs. I strained to listen, every nerve on edge. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no reply. Suddenly, Whiskers leapt off the couch and bolted up the stairs, his tail puffed out. Against my better judgment, I grabbed my phone and followed him. The upstairs hallway was dimly lit, with faint moonlight spilling through a small window. Whiskers stopped in front of the guest bedroom, his ears flattened and his body tense. The rocking chair inside was moving, swaying gently as though someone had just risen from it. A chill washed over me. The air felt heavier here, almost suffocating. Whiskers let out a low growl, his eyes fixed on a shadowy corner of the room. I followed his gaze and my stomach dropped. The shadows weren't still. They shifted unnaturally, moving as if they had a life of their own. For a fleeting moment, they seemed to form the outline of a figure. My breath caught and I stumbled backward, grabbing Whiskers. I slammed the door shut behind me and ran downstairs, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. The rest of the night was a blur. Every creak and groan of the old house felt sinister, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Whiskers stayed close to me, his usual calm replaced by unease. The next morning I texted the Granthams, desperate for an explanation. Their reply was matter of fact. "Oh, that's probably Mrs. Ashcroft. She used to own the house and adored cats. Whiskers must remind her of her old pet." I stared at the message in disbelief. Mrs. Ashcroft? Why hadn't they mentioned her before? The thought of a lingering spirit watching over Whiskers, or me, sent shivers down my spine. When the Granthams returned, I couldn't bring myself to tell them everything. They seemed so nonchalant about the house's oddities. I took my payment and left, vowing never to return. To this day, I still wonder what I encountered that night. Was Mrs. Ashcroft watching over me, or was she warning me to leave? Story 2, The Vanishing Footsteps by Callum Brewer. My name is Callum Brewer, And what started as a routine pet-sitting job quickly became one of the most chilling experiences of my life. I had agreed to watch over a golden retriever named Max for a couple who lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Their home was large but modest, with a sprawling backyard bordered by dense woods. The owners, the Andersons, were warm and welcoming as they showed me around their house before leaving for a weekend trip. Max was a happy, energetic dog, wagging his tail enthusiastically as he followed me from room to room. "He's a sweetheart," Mrs. Anderson said as she gave him a quick pat on the head. The first day was uneventful. Max was an easy dog to care for, playful but obedient. He spent most of his time lounging in the living room or chasing squirrels in the backyard. As night fell, I locked up the house and settled in to watch TV. Max lay at my feet, occasionally perking up his ears at faint sounds from outside. Around 11 p.m., Max suddenly growled low in his throat. It startled me. He'd been so relaxed all evening. He stared intently at the back door, his ears pinned back. I paused the show I was watching and listened. At first I heard nothing, but then there it was, a faint sound, almost like footsteps crunching on leaves. I stood and peered out the window. The backyard was still, illuminated by the soft glow of the porch light. "Probably just an animal," I muttered, trying to calm both myself and Max. But the dog didn't relax. He stayed tense, his eyes locked on the dark edge of the woods. Deciding to check things out, I grabbed a flashlight and opened the door. The cool night air sent a shiver down my spine as I stepped onto the porch. Max followed me, staying unusually close to my side. I swept the beam of light across the yard, seeing nothing but the swaying trees. "Hello," I called out, feeling a little silly. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. I was about to turn back when Max suddenly barked and charged toward the woods. "Max, no!" I shouted, chasing after him. The flashlight beam bounced wildly as I ran. Max stopped just short of the tree line, growling fiercely. My heart pounded as I reached him, scanning the area with the flashlight. For a moment, I thought I saw a figure standing among the trees, a pale, shadowy outline that disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. I grabbed Max's collar and dragged him back to the house, slamming the door behind us. My hands were shaking as I locked it, double-checking every window and door in the house. Max sat by the door, his eyes still fixed on the backyard, his growls fading into a low whine. I tried to sleep, but every little sound kept me on edge. At around 3 a.m., I was jolted awake by the sound of footsteps. This time, they were inside the house. My heart raced as I lay frozen in bed, straining to listen. The footsteps were slow and deliberate, moving down the hallway toward the living room. Summoning every ounce of courage, I crept out of bed and grabbed a baseball bat from the closet. Max was already at the door, his body rigid and his fur bristling. I opened the door cautiously, stepping into the hallway. The living room was empty, but the air felt heavy, oppressive. I turned on every light, trying to banish the shadows that seemed to creep closer with each flick of the switch. Max growled again, his gaze fixed on the staircase. Then I saw it, muddy footprints on the carpet. They led from the back door to the staircase, but the door was still locked, the chain bolted. My blood ran cold. Whoever or whatever had made those prints hadn't come in through the door. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Max stayed by my side, his usual playful demeanor replaced by a tense alertness. The next morning, I called the Andersons and told them everything. Their response was unsettlingly calm. "Oh, don't worry," Mr. Anderson said. "We've had strange things happen before. It's probably just the woods playing tricks on you. Max always seems to notice things we can't." Their dismissal left me feeling both frustrated and unnerved. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to their house and those woods than they were letting on. When they returned, I left without looking back. To this day, I can't explain what I saw or heard that night, but I'll never forget the oppressive silence, the fleeting shadow, and the sound of footsteps in the dark. Story 3, The Stranger in the Window, by Evelyn Tate. My name is Evelyn Tate, and I've always loved animals. Pet sitting seemed like the perfect side job while I was in school. It was easy, paid decently, and gave me plenty of quiet time to study. But one particular assignment left me questioning everything. I was hired to watch over a parrot named Kiwi for a family who lived in an old Victorian house on the edge of town. Kiwi was a colorful, lively bird with a penchant for mimicry. The family warned me about his habit of imitating voices, but assured me he was harmless. The house itself was a sight to behold, tall with intricate woodwork and large windows that seemed to watch you as you approached. The inside was no less grand, filled with antique furniture and family heirlooms. Despite its beauty, there was something unsettling about the place. The first day went smoothly. Kiwi chattered away in his cage, repeating phrases like, "Hello there," and "What's up?" I spent most of the afternoon reading in the living room, occasionally laughing at the bird's antics. As night fell, the house took on a different vibe. Shadows stretched across the walls and the faint creaks of the old wood seemed louder in the stillness. I brushed it off as my imagination and went to check on Kiwi. He was unusually quiet, perched in the corner of his cage with his feathers puffed. "You okay, buddy?" I asked, tapping the cage gently. He tilted his head, then said something that stopped me cold. "There's someone at the window." I froze, my heart pounding. The words were clear, almost too clear, as if someone else had said them. Slowly, I turned to look at the living room window. The curtains were drawn, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was on the other side, watching. "Very funny, Kiwi," I muttered, trying to calm myself. But the unease lingered. I locked all the doors and windows, double-checking each one before heading to bed. Sometime after midnight, I woke to the sound of Kiwi squawking loudly. "Go away!" he screeched. "Go away!" I stumbled out of bed and rushed to the living room, finding him flapping his wings wildly in his cage. My eyes darted to the window, where the curtain was slightly open. I swore I saw a shadow move just beyond the glass. Grabbing my phone, I called out, "Who's there?" My voice echoed through the empty house, met only by silence. Kiwi continued squawking, his words becoming eerily coherent. "Don't let him in! Don't let him in!" A chill ran down my spine. I didn't know whether to laugh at the absurdity or be terrified. Deciding not to take chances, I stayed up the rest of the night, keeping the lights on and the curtains tightly shut. The next day, I called the family to ask if Kiwi had ever acted this way before. They seemed amused. "He probably picked up those phrases from the TV," the husband said. "He loves crime dramas." Their nonchalance didn't ease my nerves. That night, I settled on the couch with Kiwi's cage beside me, determined not to leave him alone. Around 2 a.m., the atmosphere in the house shifted. The air felt heavier, the silence oppressive, and then it happened again. "There's someone at the window," Kiwi said, his voice eerily calm this time. My blood turned to ice. Slowly, I turned to look at the living room window. The curtain was moving slightly, as if stirred by a breeze, but all the windows were shut. I grabbed a flashlight and crept toward the window, my hands trembling. Pulling back the curtain, I shined the light outside. The yard was empty, the street beyond eerily quiet. But just as I was about to step away, I caught it. A faint reflection in the glass. A face, pale with hollow eyes staring back at me. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. Kiwi let out a blood-curdling screech, flapping wildly in his cage. The face disappeared as quickly as it had appeared, leaving me questioning whether I'd truly seen it. I didn't sleep a wink that night. When morning finally came, I packed up my things and left the house. I didn't care about finishing the job. I just wanted out. When I told the family about the strange occurrences, they seemed oddly unsurprised. "We've heard things before," the wife admitted reluctantly, "but we've never seen anything. Kiwi tends to notice things we don't." To this day, I can't explain what happened in that house. Was it my imagination? Or had Kiwi's warnings been more than just mimicry? I'll never know, but one thing is certain. I'll never look at parrots the same way again. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more creepy stories. Which of these stories gave you a chilling experience? Let us know. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are real.